Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, I'll say, as we're being recorded from just a moment ago, welcome to Jaber Kamali. Thanks so much for your time and for joining us. You can see the title of his talk, Monkey Management and Freire's Problem Posing Approach in ELT, very clearly in front of you. Jaber, I believe, is an ELT teacher, a teacher trainer, and an author with a PhD in TEFL and the Cambridge Delta, and is a lecturer at Ibn Haldun University, Istanbul. Did I pronounce that correctly, Jaber?
Yes, it is. Ibn Haldun.
I'm amazed that I did. Anyway, over to you. Please, everyone, post questions in the chat if you have them as we go along, and there'll be time, hopefully, for questions at the end. Over to you, Jaber.
Thank you very much, Christian, and I'm very happy to be here. I want to at first say hi to everyone for being with me today, and I hope you are all fine. So I have to thank the organizers of this event at first. Paulo Freire has been my inspiration for the whole life, and knowing that there is going to be a kind of commemoration of him was great for me, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. His ideas are really amazing ones, and I think his groundbreaking book, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, I think is that kind of amazing contribution to the whole world of education, and I'm very happy to be a part of this, and I have to thank you for organizing this event. So what I'm going to talk about today is related to a concept introduced by Blanchard in 1990, monkey management in the, of course, the field of, we can say, management, but it was applied in 1998 by Alan Waters, the late Alan Waters, to ELT. And I had an article about it in the Teacher Trainer Journal, about considering monkey management in ELT teacher training. The concept of monkey management is very close, very close to the idea of Freire when we talk about problem posing approach in ELT, as opposed to banking system of education, and I'm going to talk about this today. So to start with, of course, you know me, so I don't want to work on this part. So let's see what we're going to work on in this webinar in this 45 minutes. I hope I can manage all. We're going to outline the monkey concept to see what the relationship is between monkey concept and problem posing approach. We're going to illustrate the typical behavior of the monkey in ELT, indicate some problems, delineate the reasons of this problem, and discuss some strategies to cope with monkeys. So to start with, I want to ask you to look at this picture, monkeys everywhere, and tell me what can you guess about the topic of monkey management here. So what can you learn from this picture regarding monkey management? So if you can just share some of your ideas in the chat box, I would be happy. Controlling everything, yeah. Good. Secretly, yeah. Can't be managed, yeah. I go with you. Yeah. Yes, Linda, thank you for sharing your opinion. As you see, mostly in the management, we talk about monkeys as some problems. Thank you, Jaehoon. Yeah, sometimes hard to manage them. And what monkeys are, I think at first we have to define what the monkey is, because sometimes, unfortunately, wrongly, people think when we talk about monkeys, we're dealing with some creatures in the classroom, but no, really, monkey is not that. And what we're going to talk about is this one. Oh, yeah. Is it here? Yeah, it's here. Okay, monkey in management is the next move in problem solving procedure. So monkey management in a simple form means who should solve the problem in the class. So you see what needs to be done and who should solve the problem are the questions in monkey management we are going to answer. So monkey based on Blanchard defined as the correct assignment of responsibility for the next step in a problem solving process. So what it has with ELT is this one. The realization of a monkey concept in language classroom can be this statement when a student asks you a question in the classroom. So we have heard a lot from the experts of the field that when a student asks you a question in the classroom, mostly you don't know the answer to it, how you would reply to it. So I want to ask you this question. We can write in the chat box if you wish, that what would you do if you don't know the answer to a question that you're asked in language classroom? So I would be happy if you could just provide some answer here, the chat box. So what would you do if you are exposed to a question that you don't know the answer to in the classroom? It happens mostly to non-native teachers, mostly, but even native teachers can experience this. Yeah, that's good. Thank you very much. Yeah, true. Anyone else knows that's great, Christian. Thank you. Christian, am I right in pronouncing your name? Yeah, that's great. So yeah, that's it. One of the ways, there are different ways as Tyson, if I'm not mistaken by the pronunciation of the name, said that. Yeah, mostly honesty is the best policy, as Jaehoon mentioned, and we can say that I don't know the answer, we go for the answer and the thing, but sometimes we may lose the confidence of the learners in us. So we need to be a bit careful about this. Look it up. Yes, Jenny, thank you very much. Yeah, we can look it up. Different ways. I don't want to tell you that this is the only way, but it is one of the ways we can think about for our classrooms. For example, imagine that anytime they ask you the question, that what it words, you just give it back to the class and say, anybody knows. So in this way, no one knows when you know the answer to that question and then you don't know. So this is called that kind of monkey management, that you don't solve all the questions by yourself. You don't solve all the problems of the class by yourself. You just propose it to other members of the classroom and you ask them to solve that problem. If they can, it is a blessing. If they cannot, then the next part should be done. So this is an example of monkey concept in ELT classroom and how we can manage these monkeys in our classroom. So this is it. Let's get to these two scenarios. Scenario one, it's by Waters, 1998, Alan Waters. Excuse me, I didn't understand this word. Okay, let me see if I can help. Yes, delegate. Well, for example, if I ask one of you to do something for me that I normally do, like clean the blackboard or give out the books, that's the delegate. Is that clear for you now? Yes, I think so. Okay, so this is the first scenario. Look at the second one. Excuse me, I don't understand this word. And delegate, okay, so the meaning has to be found. Do you remember seeing it before anywhere? Oh yes, now I remember. I think it was in the last unit. Flip through the pages. Here it is. It means to get someone else to do something that you normally do yourself. Yes, can you think of an example? Yes, like this. And the last one, right. So you see that. Look at these two pictures. Take these two scenarios, please, and look at this picture. Yeah. Which one is scenario one? Which one is scenario two? Tell me left or right, please. In scenario one, the teacher takes the monkey, accepts the monkey, answer the question. And scenario two, the teacher leaves the monkey on the student's shoulder and let him solve the problem. Yeah, Christian and Tyson, you're right, completely right. But we're dealing with monkey management, not, you're not deceiving learners. This is very important. But we are just teaching them that they can solve the problems, and I will tell you why this is important. So yeah, scenario 2, I can say the man on the left, because the monkeys are there next to him, very polite. But on the right, we have got the guy, which is the monkeys are doing naughty things, and he doesn't know how to solve the problems because he has a lot of monkeys. And don't forget, if we take a monkey as a problem in the classroom, we have a lot of monkeys to take care of them. Can you tell me some of the monkeys in our classroom? So if you believe that we have some duties, if you consider monkeys as duties in the classroom, can you tell me some of the monkeys teachers should deal with in the classroom? That's very true, Christian. Yeah, very true. The duties I have as a teacher. I can give you an example. As a non-native teacher, I have to consider my own language. This is one of the monkeys I have to deal with. Right, yeah. Yeah, very good. Very important. Student expectations. Yeah. Student expectations, my own language, my lesson plan, material, and lots of other things I have to consider. So if I take another monkey, it becomes like the man on the right. So I have a lot of monkeys to deal with, and it makes me somehow, it makes some problems for me I'm going to talk about as a teacher. So, but what is the relationship between monkey management and problem posing approach of Freire is this one. When we talk about problem posing approach, when Freire talked about problem posing approach, he was talking about that type of learning that you are going to just give the problem, but you don't provide answers to. The same story here, my example at the beginning. When they ask you a question, you need to make them critically think about what the answer can be from their own side, not from you and your opinion on that. It could be some lower order thinking questions like the meaning of a word, or some higher order thinking questions like, what do you think about this? What do you believe in that? And then this is the time that you're going to give the question to them to think critically for themselves, not to be imposed by your own opinion. So this is a problem posing approach versus banking system of education, as Jim Scrivener mentioned, a kind of jog and mug way of teaching, that you as a teacher, you are a jug of knowledge, you pour them knowledge into the mob of students, and sometimes it overflows. So the one we are dealing with in monkey management is learner-centered approach, is that kind of problem-solving approach, even not problem-solving, but problem-posing approach. And okay, so I will explain more, Christian, about the monkey. And this is the thing I'm going to mention in this webinar, that sometimes we need to consider the problem-solving approach, problem-posing approach as the most important form of education. This is what Freire was talking about. So when we talk of monkeys are the, let me just turn back to this one. Maybe it's can make it clearer. The correct assignment of responsibilities in the next step in a problem-solving process. So this is called monkey management. So monkey, imagine monkey is a kind of problem of the classroom. So who should solve the problem is monkey management you're dealing with. So if you consider monkey as a problem in language classroom, Monkey management means who is responsible to solve the problem. Am I clear? I hope I am. Okay, good. So let's see the next slide. So in problem posing approach or learner-centered approach in ELT or education, learners are responsible to solve the problems, not the teacher itself. Very true, Jenny. Yes. That's very true. That's very true. Yeah. If you're going to just think about who is responsible for solving the problem, sometimes we just, when they ask us the question, we just immediately answer the question, and we think that this is the best way to deal with students' answers. But this is not the best way. The best way is making them think about the answers by themselves. This is exactly what Freire believes in. Creating and recreating the learning, not just being at that kind of mark to pour the knowledge into it. But what happens if we pick up the learner's monkeys? So imagine that the students have some monkeys, have some problem in the class, and you take the monkeys to solve yourself. So what happens if I do so? The first one is failing of autonomous learning. So we cannot make people autonomous. They need us all the time to learn. This is something that we as language educators, we don't want it to happen. Violating self-confidence. The next one we need it. The next one we need is, yes, Jayhun, is totally true. Violating self-confidence, because we are killing their confidence in this way. When all the time we provide the answers, they think that they are not competent enough to provide the answers by themselves. The next one is permission of acceptance. So you have the permission to ask questions anytime, and I'm here to answer you. This is not the feeling of I'm here to help you, but this is the feeling of, this is the permission of I'm here to provide answers to your questions, all types of questions, and you don't need to think. This is the dangerous thing that can happen. And number 4, neglect of teachers' own mega monkey. I said we have lots of monkeys in our class as teachers, like lesson plan, like materials, like our own language, like their mistakes in language, and lots of other things. So sometimes we need to ignore them because I'm taking some other monkeys in the classroom. They are the effects of picking learners' monkeys, but then and having less time for the learners and teacher burnout. Of course, they are the ones, they are the ones that are mentioned by Waters 1998. In my article, I added something to it. The first one is having less time for the learners. You know, when I try to answer all the questions to all the learners' questions, I'm just thinking about learners as question-posing creatures. I don't think about their well-being. I'm just thinking about what their grammatical mistake is, what their vocab mistake is, what kind of questions regarding these things they're asking me. And I just forget about their own well-being. And we are not dealing with machines. So not answering all those questions, I have time to think about their well-being in the classroom, their rights, their wants, their needs. And in this way, I can provide a better kind of framework for their learning. The next issue is teacher burnout. If I take all the monkeys by myself, I become, I think, kind of frustrated, because I have to do a lot of things in the class, and I have to take care of lots of problems in the class, I need to provide lots of solutions for them, and I'm just doing the thinking part of the classroom. This is what I don't want to happen. And when you do all the things, it leads to burnout. Next one is being an indispensable teacher, means they cannot learn without you. We don't want it to happen. We want them to learn how to learn. The ideas by Kumar in post method, it is mentioned a lot that we need to, the freedom of thinking, the freedom of mind, the freedom of questioning and thinking about the answers are really important. And I think we need to take it into consideration. And ripple effect, which says when one person, it is contagious. When a person asks you a question and you can provide the answer, the other people start asking you, and this kind of ripple effect in the classroom can happen. This makes a kind of culture of asking the teacher a question, he can get the answer, and it makes the monkeys more and more in the classroom. So considering these effects of picking up learners' monkeys, the next part I'm going to discuss is related to reasons of picking up learners' monkeys. That is really beautiful. I think this part of author's ideas regarding why we pick up learners' monkeys. He said that there are two parts regarding this. Of course, I adapted this part regarding external pressures and internal drive. Two reasons from outside and from inside. We have these reasons for picking up learners' monkeys. Let's start with external pressures. One of them is shortage of time. You know that discovery learning or guided discovery, which is an important we can say concept these days in education, needs time. It's more time consuming than giving them the answer, because in discovery learning they need to think about it, they need to just go into their it needs mental procedure, and it takes time. So that's why shortage of time mostly is a kind of burden. It's a kind of barrier for monkey management in the classroom, or better to say successful monkey management. Examination pressures, people washback effect, they want to be successful in exams, so they just want the answer from the teachers. They don't want to think critically because they want the exact answer for the examination test, and that's it. Materials constraints. Sometimes the materials don't make any place for critical thinking by the learners. They just put them the answer, give them the answer. They just, you can find the question and answer in the material. And I think we need to think about materials, how we can propose more higher order thinking questions in which the pupils and the students can think more about the thing, more critically about the issues of the world even. Yes, the other one is the kind of constraints that the policymakers can make. Here we can say people can, sorry, people like headmasters, the director of studies, they tell people what to do. Here I have to make a kind of comparison between teacher training and teacher education, that in the teacher training, mostly we have a kind of one size fits all approach, but in teacher education, we need that kind of reflective thinking. Of course, teacher training is used mostly as the meaning of teacher education, but technically speaking, these two differences we have to consider, and the constraint that even the teacher trainers can provide for the teachers. Cultural expectations in Eastern part of the world, mostly people are praised for being followers, and I have seen it in the countries like Iran, Turkey, and some Middle East countries. It is changing these days, but this is a kind of culture. But that is a kind of expectation that can make people don't go for discovery learning, and they just want to give the answer as soon as possible. And learner resistance, sometimes learners don't want to do so. They just want answers, the kind of easily gained answers, attained answers. So that's why this is another reasons of external pressure for monkey management for the teacher. So teachers sometimes provide the answers to the questions, and they just solve the problems, and they go for kind of banking system of education because of these reasons. The other reason are internal reasons. So in internal reasons, there are four drives that I believe they are beautiful. The first one is lack of appropriate training. So they don't train themselves, the teacher, to do so. They have studied before. Like the kind of banking system of education, and that one is a kind of belief, a very deep-rooted belief in themselves that they don't want to change it, and that's why they go for that type of teaching. As you know, beliefs needs time to be changed. So and there is a kind of resistance to change of the beliefs, and you need training and continuous professional development for teachers to just learn how to go for appropriate monkey management in the classroom, or that kind of discover learning, guided discovery in the classroom. The other one is the Peter principle. I like this opinion by authors. He believes that, of course, in management, again, people get to their level of incompetence. It means that if you are a good student, you become a teacher. If you are a good teacher, you become a trainer. If you are a good trainer, you become a manager. And you go up and up based on your previous experience, we can say competence. So if you are a good teacher, you become a good trainer. Not if you are a good trainer, you become a trainer. So based on this Peter principle, people get to their level of incompetence. It means that they go up to the time that they cannot go upper. It means if they are not a good trainer, they cannot be managers. But when they are not a good trainer, they don't go to the lower level to be a teacher. The same story happens here. So we go to the next level with the values of the previous level. Who is a good student mostly in our education system? A person who always raises hand to answer the questions. So if you consider this type of value for a good student, the teacher who was a good student thinks that this value again is a value in being a teacher. So then they ask them the question that he wants to answer them because he thinks it's a kind of value. But indeed, this is a devalue for this level of education for being a teacher. So this is the application of Peter principle in monkey management. So we shouldn't take all the values of the previous level to the next level. So being a good teacher doesn't look like being a good student, or being a good teacher trainer doesn't look like being a good teacher. So we need newer values, we need newer awareness, we need newer knowledge in the new role we take. Fear of flying. Sometimes it happens inside. We are afraid of doing something. We are afraid of making the students fly because we think they cannot, and it hurts them. So we need to just put this fear away. But the reason why we don't go for guided discovery, we think that what happens if they discover something wrong? So because of that, we go for giving them the real answers. Feeling unwanted is another one that most of us as teachers want to be, as human, want to be wanted. And sometimes because the culture of education in some countries is like a kind of jog and mogul banking system, we think that if we do so, the students think we don't know the answer. The students think if I don't provide them with a good answer, I'm not a good teacher, I don't care about them. And these type of things, because of the culture of education in some countries, I think I would be unwanted, and I don't want to feel like this. So these are the reasons why we don't go for monkey management. There are some other reasons, but the one I talked about are these. But the next part, we're getting into the last parts of the talk, is about overcoming monkey mania, or we can say overcoming the monkey management problems. I told you that one of the biggest concerns of people who are dealing and working with guided discovery is that the students can discover something wrong. And so what should I do with that? So to see how we can solve these problems, I want you to just look at this scenario, and then I'm going to explain how. So you can remember the scenario. I remember, I think it was the last unit, and that kind of just proposing the question back to the student and wanting him to answer the question. The first, what happened in this scenario? The first thing is describing the monkey. So what happens here? So this rule simply involves identifying the monkey in question. But when a learner brings a problem to a teacher, the teacher's first step should be to clarify what needs to be done next in order to begin to solve the problem. So would you please tell me which part of this scenario is dealing with this definition or this rule describing the monkey? Look at it and tell me, I'm sorry, what's happening here? Happens. Yeah. Which part of this scenario is dealing with describing the monkey? Okay. Yes, that's good. Yes, very good. That's good. Okay, let's see if anybody can find it. No one can find? Look at the second line, please. So the meaning has to be found. Do you remember seeing it before anywhere? So this is describing the monkey. I'm in this one, I'm going to just say, well, a learner brings a problem to a teacher. The teacher's first step should be to clarify what needs to be done. What should you do? So the meaning has to be found. Do you remember seeing it before anywhere? So this is the first step I can do as a teacher. I'm sorry, do you have my voice? I lost this one, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I think you've temporarily paused your slides. I can't see your slides.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just wait a second.
No problem. No problem.
So can you see it right now? Cannot. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me just close it and open it again. So, share my screen again. Can you see it right now? Okay. So we were here. Okay, so that is rule one. So we need to define the, we can say, the monkey. The second one is assign the monkey. So rule two is concerned with deciding who should take responsibility for it. So based on the following principle, all monkeys, that's a very important, I think, principle. All monkeys shall be owned and handled at the lowest organizational level. At the lowest organizational level, consistent with their welfare. What does it mean? It means that if, so in the organization, the students are lower than teachers, the teachers are lower than teacher trainers, the teacher trainers are lower than managers. So if a teacher can, if a student can solve the problem, the teacher shouldn't do this. It's a rule in monkey management, in the management. So they talk about the managers, clerks, and other things. So they say that we shouldn't take the responsibility of solving the problem if it can be done at the lower level, because you need to deal with as a higher level with the more important things. So this is the thing. And let's get back to our scenario. In which part the teacher is talking about this rule? I mean, assigning the, look here, assigning the monkey who should solve the problem. In which part of this scenario? I think in line 2 and 4, yes. Line 2 and 4 is talking about, can you think of an example? Can you remember seeing it anywhere before? So in these 2 lines, the teacher is dealing with rule 2, assigning the monkeys. And in the last one, ensure the monkey, is the one I talked about, that sometimes we the students may find something wrong, may discover something wrong. We're dealing with this. So if you take a look here, I'm sorry, when learners start trying to solve a problem for themselves, they will inevitably make mistakes. Safeguards therefore need to be built into the process to ensure that the consequent risks are kept to an acceptable level. So they can take risks, but at an acceptable level. So that's why the pure discovery learning these days is replaced by guided discovery. This is the purpose of the 3rd monkey management rule. So you should ensure that the monkeys, that they discover something correct. So this is my job as a teacher. So I should be there for them, for checking these things, not to provide the answer, but to check if they are getting somehow close to what you mean, not completely out of box ideas. So this is the next thing about the monkey. I think it's not bad to look at 2 scenarios and answer these questions. Where is the monkey at first and at the end of scenarios? And how are the 3 rules applied? As a kind of reflection for what I did today, I want you to look at these 2 scenarios, and let's have a very quick talk at the end, that where is the monkey at first and at end of a scenario. Say, for example, monkey is on the student shoulder or on the teacher shoulder. And how are the 3 rules applied? So let's look at these 2 scenarios. Okay, now let's talk about this. So what do you think? Where is the monkey at the beginning and at the end of the scenario? Is it on a student's shoulder or teacher's shoulder? So the first line of the scenario, the students try to send the monkey to the teacher. And in the second, I'm sorry, at first, what does assignment mean? So trying to send a problem through the problem to the teacher. And what does the teacher do? The teacher accepts it and tries to provide the answer to it and tries to solve the problem there. Yeah, question. Very true. Yeah, it is. And even in the problem solving, even the problem itself, they should decide with the learners who should do this. So here I accept the monkey and I just provide the answer without letting them think about what the question is, how they can provide the answers and other things. Yeah, Jehun, we need to be ready for all the things in the class. In scenario 2, but what does assignment mean? Assignment, can you remember last session? What did I say? You should bring. Great. So what does assignment mean? Can you give an example? And these type of things. But in this type, yes, sure, we're done, Christian. In this type of scenario, the teacher doesn't accept the monkey, but let the student talk about the monkey. Let the student think about it himself or herself and provide the answer to the question himself. Sometimes it is not, we can say, successful. Then we are there to provide some other types of scaffolding. However, we need to just make them think in the class about the questions, about even the procedure of learning, even the questions they are asking. And you see here at first, assign the monkey, define the monkey in line 5, then assign who should answer in line, for example, 7 and line 9, asking the question again, and then ensure that that person is understanding what that question is. Give me an example. So this is it. This is what I mean by monkey management. And what I want to say is that the learning process is not on the teacher all the time. The learners are involved in the learning procedure in the class by critical thinking. And I think this sentence by Paulo Freire, I think, is the best to end with. That is, the study is not to consume ideas, but to create and recreate them. You can see the kind of material I used, the resources I used, references, Blanchard, the 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey, my own article in the Teacher Trainer Journal, and the late Waters article, Managing Monkeys in ELT Classrooms. So thank you very much, guys, for being with me. So I'm here to answer any question if there is any.
I don't believe there's been any questions in the chat, but feel free to write a question in the chat there. We have a couple of minutes left if anybody would like to. Just said it was great. Thank you very much. No questions so far. I think it seems that everything was clear, Jabba.
Thank you very much.
If there's no questions, personally, I wondered, yeah, it seemed like an exploration that you've been engaged in and a review of teacher-centeredness, if you like, sorry, learner-centeredness, quite the opposite, learner-centeredness, and perhaps a call for critical thinking.
Yeah.
Is it perhaps, I guess the age-old knee-jerk reaction or argument against it might be that it's culturally specific, particularly to the West, whatever that means.
Of course,
how would you respond?
The thing is that what I want to mention is not exactly the only way of dealing with the students is this way. But I want to say that we need to take it into consideration. This is a way to deal with the students in the classroom. So that kind of awareness is something I want to just raise regarding this issue, nothing else. I don't want to say that this is the only thing, or it comes from the West or East. I think that this is one of the issues we need to consider, no matter in East or West, but we have to consider that. I think I address your questions correctly.
Thank you. Jahan has a question. How should school authorities be encouraged to train teachers on this issue?
Critical thinking, or that kind of freedom of thinking, or whatever we call it, is the thing that we need in the society, not only even the managers or teachers. We need to make people think like this. We need to make people think critically. And I think one of the issues dealing with is that most the authorities don't want it to happen. Because if it happens, their authority is into question. And I think it's a kind of bottom-up approach rather than top-down approach. So we need, as teachers and educators, to start this process by ourselves and make them think like this. So I think this is more of a teach and trainers than managers and policymakers.
Thank you. Okay, let's one more question, I believe, in the chat. How could Freire and culture pedagogy be used in group conversation setups in the classroom, says Leonardo?
Yeah, the question is, I think the one that maybe another right person to answer. However, I think the kind of the culture of Freire that in critical pedagogy is that, and what I can talk about from my own contribution to this webinar, monkey management, is that we need to make them think critically, not only for the answers, but also, as you mentioned, for the questions. And then the questions can be created by them for the conversation process. So sometimes we give them questions and just tell them to talk about it, but even we can just tell them what type of question they can talk about. And in this way, we are applying critical pedagogy or critical thinking in the classroom.
Thank you. Great. I don't know if you want to share any contact details, Jaber, but
yeah,
feel free to do so if that calls to you. Thank you so much once again.
I will write in the chat box my Instagram account and my LinkedIn account and my email in the chat box. So if anybody wants to get in touch, I would be happy to discuss these issues in further. So these two, and thank you again very much. Thank you for planning this type of webinar, and I'm very happy to be a part of it. Thank you everyone for being here.